Is Overwatch back? Did Overwatch 2 save Overwatch? Good morning, good evening, good afternoon. We have a different styled video for y'all here today. We got here is me talking about the future of Overwatch 2 and Overwatch and all of the changes that some of you might not have realized came with Overwatch 2. Consider this something that's going to be pros, cons that I think about the changes that Overwatch did. Sit back and relax because there's a ton of changes I'm about to hit y'all with, and I'm curious to see what y'all think. First, let's talk about some pros in Overwatch 2. 5v5. Obviously, if you played the original Overwatch, you know that Overwatch started and at its core was 6v6. Some of you might even remember originally there was no Q roles. It was just whatever you wanted. You could have 2 Lucios, 2 Zaryas. Some of you might remember those days. Now, this was a big change for Overwatch. Instead of saying, okay, we're going to have 6v6, we're going to make it 5v5. And what they did was they basically said, all right, 1 tank, no more duo tanks. Now, this, in my opinion, is a great change. When I first started playing Overwatch, I loved how it was an FPS and a shooter at the front. But as Overwatch kind of developed, some of you might remember GOATs, the metas, it didn't really feel like a shooter anymore. Now, obviously, with this change, they buffed single tanks, so tanks are a little beefier now, but at the end of the day, instead of having 2 tanks trying to hit the front line, you only got 1. Like I said, me personally, this is a giant pro for Overwatch 2. I think this is a huge plus for them. 5v5, in my opinion, feels way better than 6v6 ever felt. Another good thing that's been coming out with Overwatch 2 is we've already gotten a lot of new characters in the last couple months than we've gotten in years. Some of you have probably played and run around with Sojourn. I myself were actually trying to learn her and figure her out the other day when I was playing. She was a lot of fun. Her whole style as a DPS. Then on top of that, you probably saw Junker Queen, another new tank that has a completely different style from the other tanks that I'd really seen before. Junker Queen has the ability to use bleeds and heal herself. It's a very cool feel that she's got. She kind of has a little Roadhog hook. Really cool tank, and one that honestly, in my opinion, I want to learn more. I did hear that she already got kind of nerfed because she was so broken early on, but still want to give it a shot. And then last but not least, when Overwatch 2 just launched, you had a new healer named Kirito. Kirito is a very interesting style of a healer. Her ultimate, if you pair it up with a Roadhog or a Reinhardt, basically makes you attack way faster. So Hog's gun's going when he's got Kirito's ult on him. Now, the reason I think it's so important to have these new heroes like Sojourn, Junker Queen, and Kirito is it keeps the game fresh. There was a very long time there where Overwatch was just stale. And essentially what happened was, in my opinion, they launched Overwatch originally, and then they announced Overwatch 2, and they stopped updating and stopped making it fresh for all the players, content creators, whoever you are out there. I will make a note here as well. I think it's personally really cool to see that you got a new damage, you got a new tank, and you got a new healer. And I am under the understanding that there's going to be a lot more stuff rolling out very soon. This is going to bring me into another pro that I think is for Overwatch 2, and that is there is going to be so much more new content. Now, obviously, as a content creator, I love that. And I'm sure you as a player, or if you're a content creator as well, love that too. The biggest problem that I think happened with the original Overwatch into the Overwatch 2 transition was the game just went flat. There was no more updates. There was no more new stuff. You were just doing the same thing over and over and over again. And for what? You look at other games like Fortnite, I'll use Warzone as a little bit of an idea here as well. You got Apex. These games are constantly being updated. They're being changed. Fortnite has new maps, new guns. Warzone, some new operators, a new map, new guns. And then Apex, you got the new, I believe they're called Legends, that are constantly coming out. And the bottom line is the game is staying fresh. I can tell y'all flat out, I've had a lot of conversations with a ton of people on the Overwatch team, and on top of that, a lot of Overwatch content creators and pros, and I'm telling y'all, change is coming. Overwatch and the team, they realized that they made a mistake when they let Overwatch fall flat, and that is not what they're going to do anymore. There's going to be constant updates, constant new heroes, new maps, new. This brings me to another pro, free to play. Overwatch 2 is free to play. Now the PvE, here's my understanding, you technically still have to pay for, but Overwatch 2 right now is free to play, and there's a battle pass that is brand new. Obviously, you've seen how battle passes work in other games, obviously Warzone being one of them, where you can essentially play for free, level, and unlock new skins, new characters, yada, yada, yada. I think this is a big pro for Overwatch as well, because now that it's free to play and you have some incentive to kind of level up in a battle pass, and once again, it will keep things fresh and new. Obviously, those battle passes, there's going to be new characters, new skins in the future, and it's going to be one of those things where if you don't level or if you don't buy, which you have the option to do, the battle pass, those are gone. Another pro that I'm going to say is Overwatch 2 brought a lot of hype and it brought a lot of people back. Just the other day, me, Lassus, J3, Siegel, Flats, I played with Poke a little bit, XQ, I know he's back and playing, and I'm sure a lot of you as well. It brought a sense of hype, and it wanted people to play Overwatch again. Obviously for the community as a whole, and I'm not just saying because content creators are back, I'm saying that friends, family, there's people that now that Overwatch 2 is out and Overwatch the original, the servers are offline, it gives everyone a sense of this might be a new fresh start, and that's what the Overwatch team was trying to do. On top of that, there was another new thing that Overwatch implemented with this idea, and that is for console to be able to merge their account with Battle.net. This, in my opinion, is another big pro. You probably have a lot of people, yourself included out there, that are playing on console, and now you can merge it to Battle.net and you can transfer all the stuff that you did on console onto your Battle.net account so that can move over with you into Overwatch 2 and into the future. Obviously, I'm sure the console community, I don't know if I'm speaking for you because I obviously play on PC, but I'm sure a lot of you appreciate the account merge and being able to do that and take what you did on console and bring it. Another pro that I think happened with Overwatch 2, and one thing I want to touch on, is something called mythic skins that were implemented into Overwatch 2. The mythic skin is actually customizable. You can basically, as of right now, there's a Genji mythic skin, and you can customize the way that that skin looks. You can do stuff like change his tattoos, change his face mask, change his weapon, even change the color of the skin. This is just one of those things that gives you a little more customizability, and on top of that, I think ties in new content where you can do this with technically any skin in Overwatch 2. Not only are the colors different and the looks of it, but actually the voice lines, at least for the Genji one, sound different as well. It's something that I think makes a little more unique and more interesting if you're a player to have this rare version of a hero. The last thing that I want to say is a pro that I want to talk about before I get into the cons, and just keep in mind, I'm sure there's a lot of things out there that some of you are like, Tim, well, you missed this, Tim, you missed this. This is just my own personal opinion as someone that played thousands of hours into the original Overwatch, into the future of Overwatch 2. The last thing I'm going to talk about is the ping system. I think this ping system is a giant W and a great change that Overwatch made for Overwatch 2. There were moments where my team, there were no communications happening, but with the ping system, I was able to understand what the team wanted to do. There's a ton of different stuff that you can do with this ping system. I at one point saw someone basically say group up on this and kind of pinged a location and everyone went to it. At one point, no, you got to keep in mind, no one was talking, but someone got a ping on an enemy player that was sort of behind us. And that would have been lost in translation in the first Overwatch if no one was talking and no one knew that person was over there. But now with the ping system, they called it out. The ping showed up on the screen. You can see that there's an enemy over there, and you hear an audio line that's basically like, enemy over here. In my opinion, the ping system is a giant change that Overwatch made that is very, very good for the future of the community as well. There were moments like you probably would have been frustrated. Oh, there was someone back there and I didn't even know it. But now with the ping system, if no one was talking, you can ping and you can show that someone is there. That's a majority of the good that I saw that came out of this Overwatch 2 launch. And now I'm going to talk about some of the stuff that I didn't love. First con I'm going to talk about is the new UI. I don't love it. In my opinion, the UI was something they didn't necessarily have to change. I wonder if this is one of those things where essentially they kind of wanted it to feel different. I'll throw that in air quotes. But the way that they changed it and the way that it looks, in my opinion, and I'm curious what you all think about this as well, is just, it's more cartoony. And I understand Overwatch is a kind of a cartoony game, but it looks not as clean. Now, obviously, if you look around with the UI, you probably notice a lot of stuff that is different. And as I said, I didn't love the changes to it, but one that really stood out to me was the progression of the level of your account. In my opinion, this was something that Overwatch did really well. And I'm once again curious if any of you agree with me, and comment down below. And a lot in this video, I'm going to be looking to see what y'all think are pros and cons as well, and if you agree with what I'm saying. But one major thing that stood out to me, if you all remember the player icons, the borders that you had around your icon, and it could kind of flex how long you've been playing Overwatch. There was a bronze one, silver, gold, platinum, and you can kind of flex for how long you've been playing. Well, with the new UI, at least as far as I can see, my border that I had is now gone. And you think of someone like XQC who had the final border that you could ever unlock, but now we're kind of back to square one. In my opinion, that was something they could have transferred over and shown as a little bit of a flex for how long you've been playing Overwatch and how much you've been grinding. Another thing a lot of people were talking about in the community in general, and I saw a lot of tweets about this, was the hit registration. Something feels different about Overwatch's hit registration. I personally can't put my finger on it. I know a lot of content creators were tweeting about it as well, and I just saw generally people talking about the hit registration, and it felt... easiest way I can say it is it kind of feels almost RNG-esque. Obviously, I'd played thousands of hours of Overwatch originally, so I understood how the game used to play. Now, if these changes happened in the middle of Overwatch, maybe some of y'all can tell me, but as someone that has not played Overwatch for a very long time and remembers the way that the game felt as far as the way the hit registration was going, something in Overwatch 2, in my opinion, feels completely different, and I use the word, it feels off. I don't know if this is something that Overwatch knows about, that they're kind of talking about. I'm curious what y'all think about that as well. Another negative that I want to talk about here is the new placement system. I don't fully understand why they did this. Now, some of you might remember placements from years and years ago, and then it went into this different thing where it's like now you have a role queue and each role has a different elo. I'm going to kind of talk about not the old ranking system, but focus on when they had the role queue ranking system. Now, the old role queue ranking system, a lot of you probably remember, you queued in, you had 5 placement matches, and after those 5 matches, you got placed. In my opinion, this is pretty simple, and this was solid. I don't think that they had to make the changes that they did. Here's what the new ranking system is. The new ranking system is you either win 7 games or you lose 20. Now, I'm assuming there's some rhyme or reason as to why they changed this ranking system around, but in my opinion, the old one, and I'm not talking about the complete OG one, I'm talking about the old role queue one, was way cleaner and way more simple. This, in my opinion, is just another thing that they didn't really have to touch, but they wanted to change to make it new. That's my only understanding as to why they would say, hey, we have this ranking system right now, but let's make it so you have to either win 7 of them or you lose 20. Just for the record, I'm kind of on the way to lose 20 with all the DCs I've been experiencing. So while we're talking about the ranking system, let's talk about another con, the new rank icons. This is another one of those things where I just don't know what they were trying to do. The only thing I can think of was they were trying to get away from the OG Overwatch feel, and they wanted this new sort of style of ranked icon. But this, once again, in my opinion, is something that didn't have to really get touched. If you look at the old ranks, they really stood out. You could tell what everything was. You could tell, oh, that's someone in top 500. Oh, that's GM. Oh, that's even masters to GM. Those look pretty similar, but at the end of the day, you can tell them apart. This new one, I feel like I really have to focus on the new ranks and see, oh, wait, is that someone in Diamond? Wait, are you in Masters? And it just, in my opinion, I'll use this word, it just looks flat. It doesn't look near as flashy, near as cool. This is another one of those things. I don't understand the real change for it. The only thing I can think of was they're really trying to get away from the old Overwatch to make you feel like you're playing a completely new game. But in my opinion, there were a couple things, and this kind of ties back to the UI change that just didn't have to happen. The last con I'm really going to talk about with Overwatch 2 was just kind of how launch day went. Obviously, if you were trying to play the other day, there were a ton of server issues. So many things were breaking. People were disconnecting constantly. On top of that, I'm sure a lot of you probably saw that I lost a lot of my gold weapons. They disappeared. I will say that those came back now, but my understanding right now is there's a lot of people out there that had these skins for different heroes from like the OG Overwatch that are just completely gone right now. Now, my understanding is those are going to come back to you, just kind of like how I got my gold weapons back. If you had some of the old skins or if you had gold weapons, those will be coming back to you. But overall, the server, you would have hoped it would have went a lot better as far as the launch goes. There's people in a 40 to 50,000 queue. There's some people that were getting in instantly because they were region changing. It was just kind of a mess, and overall it could have been a lot better. That sort of wraps up my pros versus cons on Overwatch 2, and now I'm just going to kind of wrap up my general thoughts about it. Overwatch was a game that I fell in love with, that I sank thousands of hours into, and I wanted to grind it. I wanted to get high rank, and I wanted to play. Overwatch for me and the Overwatch community will always have a soft spot in my heart. A lot of people say that Overwatch made me, and a lot of people I'm sure would agree with that. So obviously seeing a lot of people talking about Overwatch again and coming back to Overwatch, it's an exciting thing to see. Now, as far as it goes for me, am I going to continue playing Overwatch 2? Well, you've probably seen, at least on more TimTheTatman, even now you might have seen on the main channel some Overwatch videos being uploaded. I am enjoying it, and as long as I'm enjoying it, I want to keep diving back into it. But obviously right now is kind of a lull for me because Modern Warfare 2 is coming out really soon. Warzone 2 is coming out really soon. And honestly, the timing for me to get back into Overwatch is perfect. At the end of the day, if I enjoy it, I'm going to play it. And that's kind of my bottom line for me. If I really fall in love with Overwatch again and I want to get top 500 and I want to get ranked, and with all the new content that they have coming out that actually excites me a lot as a content creator, there might be a chance here that I fall back in love with Overwatch. Generally though, I wanted to make this video and put this on the main channel because I'm curious about y'all's feedback for Overwatch versus Overwatch 2 and if you think that Overwatch is back. I'm going to say, if you did enjoy this video, because this is a completely different style video than what I normally do, leave a like on this. Like I said, there's a ton of comments and I'm going to be looking at down below as far as what y'all are thinking about Overwatch 2, and if you love it, if you hate it, if you think there were some major points I missed, if you love this style of video. If you are new here from the Overwatch community, be sure to hit the sub button and ring the bell so you don't miss any of the content over here. But most importantly, I finished the video with this. Be sure to tell somebody you love them, okay? I'll catch you in the next one.